those directional outcomes in delivering long-term system change. Next slide, please. Oh, you know what? Okay, this is the old slide deck. Okay. Can we hop over a few slides? Sorry. I had some updates too, just like Anu did. So my AHO is what I'm going to present next. It's a few slides back. So if we can just jump forward and I'll let you know when to stop. Somewhere, yeah. It's actually the last 3 slides. Mahalo. Yeah, one back. Yep, thank you. So AHO Access to Home Ownership was created to address a very specific gap. Native Hawaiians who are mortgage ready but unable to qualify because of the traditional lending requirements. The median home income price in Hawaii is over $830,000, while the median Native Hawaiian household income is $78,000. Even with strong credit scores and stable income, borrowers are often blocked by the cost of large down payments or PMIs. AHO is a program, Access to Home Ownership, was established to address a focused challenge. Many Native Hawaiians are mortgage ready with steady income and credit, but are still blocked by traditional lending requirements. Sorry, repeated myself. In Hawaii, the median income home price now exceeds $830,000. The disparity creates a structural affordability gap that prevents qualified families from entering the market even when they meet other standards and requirements. AHO responds to this barrier with a reserve-backed loan structure delivered in partnership with American Savings Bank. Through this model, OHA places capital on deposit up to 17% of the home's value, allowing approved borrowers to purchase their homes with as little as 3% down and no PMI. This is not a grant. This is not cash assistance. This is a strategic capital guarantee that meets lender requirements and opens access without increasing borrower debt. This is what makes AHO fiscally responsible and impactful. It does not subsidize consumption. It retools market access. AHO is a direct alignment with MIMO Outcome 7.2, increasing access to capital and credit in ways that are scalable, regenerative, and grounded in Native Hawaiian economic empowerment. This approach is about equity, not exception. It changes how the system works and not how we fund it. If you could go to the next slide. And then one more. Okay, one back. Call my.
Yeah, so that's fine.
So in FY25, we launched AHO with a $1.5 million reserve, a capital strategy designed to increase homeownership among mortgage-ready Native Hawaiian families. Since then, 66 applicants have been referred to American Savings Bank. 30 borrowers have been approved and 7 are pending close at this moment. This support has garnered $600,000 of the 1.5 in reserved coverage. Together, these approvals represent $3.9 million in pending home purchases, all secured without any borrower paying private mortgage insurance. The model is working, the infrastructure is in place. We're not testing a concept, we're expanding a system that already demonstrated measurable results. We're requesting $3 million for FY26 and FY27 to build on that momentum. Based on current reserve averages, this next phase of funding could support up to 35 more Native Hawaiian homeowners, bringing total reach to approximately 52 families across 3 fiscal years and unlocking over $22.5 million in purchasing power for our ohana. AHO is a direct response to Outcome 7.2, increasing access to capital and credit for Native Hawaiians through a structurally sound, community-centered solution. Next slide, please. This $3 million would actually be categorized and sitting in the grant funds in the way that we facilitated this last fiscal year as well. AHO's success is not just in design, but it's in execution that Kuleana sits with us in economic resilience. As director, I lead this work alongside our strategic consultant, Kanani Ewart. with each of us dedicating approximately, I'm going to say approximately because it really fluctuates when you are launching a new program, about 0.2 FTE to ensure the program delivers with integrity and alignment. Together, we manage the strategic coordination of AHO from its original program architecture and readiness planning to day-to-day implementation with American Savings Bank and OHA's internal teams. That includes ensuring that every component of AHO, from referral systems to financial modeling, remains aligned with our economic stability strategy, MIMO outcomes, and the values of this institution. Our kuleana as econ includes leading cross-PIA coordination across legal, comms, beneficiary services, finance team, research and evaluation, maintaining a clear, up-to-date picture of program performance, including referral flow, reserve utilization, and overall troubleshooting implementation challenges, communicating with ASB, facilitating timely updates, just it goes on and on as this is an in-house project. We also hold responsibility for long-term program stewardship, ensuring that as AHO scales, it continues to deliver responsibly, transparently, and measurably impacts our Native Hawaiian families. This is a systems-led level work, ensuring the infrastructure is sound, the delivery is stable, and the promise of capital access is fulfilled with precision. Okay, so now we're going to go back a few slides. Thank you. Back to Kulana Aina. Some more, probably about 6 more back. Yeah. Almost. Some more. That's it. 2 more. Thank you. We're back on track now. Mahalo. So Kulana Aina is our food system strategy in econ. It's designed to return Native Hawaiian producers to the center of Hawaii's economy by strengthening Aina-based enterprise. It confronts longstanding structural gaps in agriculture and food systems. Native Hawaiians operate just 3% of Hawaii's farms and receive less than 1% of small business lending. These are not just disparities, they represent generations of disconnection from land, capital, and infrastructure. Kulana Aina addresses this by moving resources into readiness, helping Native Hawaiian producers scale operations, strengthen enterprises, and access institutional markets. Over the next 2 years, the program will deliver, and this slide also, I'm so sorry, this is one of those that I had to update as well. It actually would deliver over 52 scholarships in food systems. We're looking at doing 2 incubator cohorts that would service 12 businesses per cohort, so over 24 cohort in food systems. Provide technical assistance, procurement readiness, and market access to position Native Hawaiian food businesses for long-term growth. We've established alignment with Leeward Community College, the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center, and Native Hawaiian-led incubators, integrating education, business support, and place-based leadership. In the short term, this program grows enterprise knowledge, strengthens producer capacity, and improves access to procurement opportunities. In the long term, it builds a resilient pipeline of Native Hawaiian producers who are investment ready to take on more land, and market connected. This is how we move from exclusion to re-entry, from isolated efforts to a coordinated food system rooted in Aina, ownership, and equity. Kulana Aina directly advances MIMO outcomes 7.2 through 8.3, aligning workforce, capital, and indigenous enterprise development into a unified economic strategy. Next slide, please. So the total request for Kulana Aina across FY26 and FY27 is $802,600, aligned to advance Native Hawaiian participation in food systems through education, enterprise, and ecosystem building. This investment activates a full pipeline from student scholarships and business incubation to producer services, procurement readiness, and cultural market access. The breakdown of the budget aligned to deliverable and outcomes. So we're looking at scholarships in food systems and ag tech on lines 6308 and 6448, collectively making up for $175,000. Again, this will support over 52 Native Hawaiian students in culinary, agriculture, and food innovation programs. Budget includes tuition, wraparound support services, and final project documentation to inform future scaling. It also, on line 6301, we're looking at an INA-based enterprise incubator. That's the two curated cohorts, 12 participants each, with enterprise coaching, mentorship, and business readiness training tied to direct market outcomes. And then finally, we have producer services and market preparation for $40,000 on line 6447. This would deliver technical assistance, procurement alignment, and financial coaching for early to mid-stage producers to prepare for institutional and wholesale channels. And then lastly, you'll see in the budget, we have activations, market access, and cultural events under line 6444 and 6466 at $300,000. We're looking to basically activate not only our food enterprises, but how do we do that and also uplift our real estate? So having activations for in Makeke at Nalamakukui or Kakako Makai, and really leveraging that asset to bring business opportunities to our small businesses. And then lastly, we have professional development and operational delivery at 31,000. So these are the smaller numbers under line 6440, 6442, 646, and 6468. It includes subject matter expertise, cultural protocols, learning materials, and strategic visibility support, ensuring stakeholder alignment and program integrity. This budget is built to deliver aligning capital, training, and ecosystem partnership to grow Native Hawaiian enterprise and food systems. It reflects the strategy of implementation, readiness, and long-term system change. Next slide. So you'll see on this slide that I've split the cost by contract and program code, just to kind of show what we would be bringing people in to do, and I can answer more questions on these details in the Q&A section. But I wanted to also pay particular attention to what our kuleana would be at Econ. And so for Econ, our role would be to ensure we deliver with fidelity to OHA's strategic direction. We would execute and lead internally, both myself and my strategy consultant. I would allot about 0.2 FTE or 20% of our time to operating this program as well. Our kuleana would include designing and managing multi-sector partnerships. We've already been in talks and meeting with really strategic partners like Leeward Community College, also looking at organizations such as the Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce, Purple Mai'a, other types of Native-based community organizations that could support our efforts as well. We would be overseeing the scholarships, the incubator cohorts, technical assistance, creating MOUs, working with procurement, and doing business development services. Would advance ecosystem coordination to ensure alignment between training, capital access, and procurement readiness. And then lastly, we would track performance, impact, and MIMO alignment for strategic visibility and board reporting. Next slide. So Kulia Workforce is a targeted initiative to close employment gaps and position Native Hawaiians for success in high-growth, high-wage sectors across the state. Built on workforce data, certification pipelines, and partner integration, this initiative delivers industry-ready training and real-world job experience for participants throughout FY 26 to 27, with structured pathways to long-term employment, mentorship, and promotion. The need is clear. Native Hawaiians remain underrepresented in growth industries like technology, infrastructure, and ag tech, and overrepresented in roles with limited wage mobility. In rural areas, limited access to credentialing, mentorship, and placement continues to constrain upward mobility and workforce inclusion. Kulia responds to strategic precision. In FY 26 to 27, investments will deliver hands-on certification cohorts in fields such as drone-based biosecurity, GIS mapping, cloud systems, clean energy, just to name a few. Each cohort will be supported by local facilitators, employer engagement, and wraparound services, ensuring a match between training and placement and a bridge between intention and impact. Projected outcomes include 75% certification completion, 80% mentorship retention, 30% of participants advancing into promotions or higher tier credentials, and 20% projected regional increase in Native Hawaiian employment in targeted sectors around technology. Next slide. The total request for Kule'a workforce across 26 and 27 is 281,000. Structured to deliver a scalable, culturally grounded workforce development initiative that equips Native Hawaiians, adult learners to lead in high-demand, high-wage sectors. This investment delivers credential-based training cohorts, career-connected internship placements, and mentorship-aligned job advancement, removing systemic barriers and positioning participants for long-term economic stability. So the budget breakdown that we're looking at for this program, in the regional, under deliverables and outcomes, the regional certification cohorts and program coordination, it would take up about $225,000. Internship stipends and wraparound support would be at $35,000. Funds programs delivery through contracted facilitators, including cohort coordination, participant recruitment, mentorship onboarding, and job readiness planning. This programming is intended to serve at least 50 Native Hawaiian adult learners across 2 fiscal years, again, in priority sectors such as ag tech, cloud systems, and biosecurity. It'll also support multiple internships with direct stipends tied to industry placement. Budget includes facilitation of applied learning experience, evaluation tools, guest speaker workshops, and reporting for performance tracking. Lastly, the strategic partnership engagement, we set aside $15,000 for that. Kalamai, that's on line 6449, page 108. Supports Econ's participation in convening and conferencing to expand employer relationships. So our focus is on identifying employers, because once we build up this group, we need to be able to get them employed. And then whatever professional tools are necessary to build up this group and cohort as well. This budget is designed for execution, combining technical training, career advancement, and system navigation into a single outcome-oriented workforce model. Our kuleana for this project, it's actually designed to be agile, informed by industry needs, and aligned to career pathways that offer both upward mobility and long-term resilience for Native Hawaiian learners. We are setting aside, again, another 20% of our project time to focus on developing this program. Our responsibilities would include coordinating rollout of certification cohorts and internship placements, ensuring alignment with industry pathways and regional workforce needs, facilitating vendor performance and implementation logistics. We would also be working on formalizing partnerships through MOUs or procurement processes, tracking participant outcomes, internship progress, and program results. All of this is aligned with MIMO's strategic outcomes 7.3, 7.4, and 8.3, embedding the program into Hawaii's broader workforce ecosystem. That would be the kuleana of Econ. Next slide, please. And then lastly, our final project that we are proposing today is the Moku Economy. It's an initiative focused on rural regenerative tourism, supporting models that, oh, I'm sorry, next slide, please. Thank you. Next slide. There you go. Thank you. Moku Economy is an econ initiative focused on rural regenerative tourism, supporting models that restore narrative control, return benefit to rural communities, and reestablish Native Hawaiians as decision makers in the visitor economy. This effort anchors culture, community, and equity at the center of economic activity. It entails taking one intentional and strategic step towards ensuring that tourism no longer happens to our communities, but with and through them. Tourism remains in the dominant sector in Hawaii's economy, yet Native Hawaiians make up nearly 20% of the tourism workforce, but remain underrepresented in ownership, leadership, and enterprise. Rural communities host many of Hawaii's most visited sites, but shoulder the cultural and environmental impacts with limited economic return or governance power. This is not a gap in participation. It's a structural imbalance impacting our greatest resources, our environment, aina, people, and cultural integrity. The Rural Heritage Trail Initiative, which is what I'm proposing under Moku Economy, is the first project that we would launch. It will pilot community-led visitor experiences rooted in wahi kupuna, mo'olelo, and place-based stories, designed to elevate practitioners, guide respectful engagement, and redirect benefit to Native Hawaiian communities. Over the next 2 years, we're looking to launch this Heritage Trail activations in collaboration with rural communities across the Pai'aina. It's very similar to what they did with the Hanalei Initiative and the playbook. And so we would really look to them as being a partner in launching this program. It will assist us in developing culturally grounded signage, education materials, and digital tools to reinforce local protocol, drive people to our practitioners and to the local economy. It would support our small practitioners and small businesses in building regenerative visitor models that reflect community and priorities, establish foundational practices for measuring cultural and economic impact, and for scaling a statewide heritage trail network over time. In the short term, this work supports kupuna creators and cultural leaders, but in the long term, it advances Indigenous governance of tourism, anchoring stories, stewardship, and economic return in community hands. Moku Economy advances MIMO outcomes 7.3, 8.1, and 8.3, redefining tourism not as an external driver, but as an ecosystem rooted in Ike, equity, and Native Hawaiian economic leadership. Next slide, please. The total request for Moku Economy is $250,000 over the next 2 fiscal years, designed to launch and evaluate a pilot rural tourism model grounded in cultural integrity, community input, and economic return for Native Hawaiians. Another good example of a program like this would be on Hawaii Island with what they have done over in Waipio Valley. The investment supports the development of heritage trail sites, educational materials, community engagement, and evaluation, laying the foundation for a long-term statewide model of regenerative tourism. The breakdown of the budget aligned to deliverable and outcomes include pilot coordination. That would be $210,000 over the 2 fiscal years. You'll find that on line 6303 and line 6310. It funds project management, cultural facilitation, site coordination, and responsible tourism planning, including community workshops, site identification, and mo'olelo collection. Visitor wayfinding design, signage planning, and place-based messaging, cultural practitioner engagement, kupuna protocol consultations, and impact measurements and data reporting for scalability. On line 6445, you'll see that it asks for $30,000 for trail materials, tools, and systems. That includes further map designs, visual assets, convening with rural leaders to co-create this project and program, kupuna, storytelling, and visitor materials. And then, of course, the technology and community tools needed to deliver an authentic and accessible experience. And then lastly, we have a strategic visibility and sector engagement for $10,000 on line 6467, which would support Econ's participation in key industry convenings, ensuring alignment with statewide tourism strategy, cultivating partnership, and informing best practices for scale. Next slide. And then on this slide, again, I can get into this a little bit more after in the questions and answers, but I split it up in contracts versus programs between 26 and 27, and then just outline our kuleana that we would be doing as we manage in that 0.2, the 20% of our total workload that we have. And that would include designing and coordination, development and management. We would build strategic agreements, oversee implementation, and steward long-term systems to hopefully see change so that this work goes beyond a project that is meant to be a pilot project. And that is it, I think. So now if you could just skip to the Q&A. Mahalo.
Trustees, any have questions for any of you folks? Trustee Galuteria?
I got 2 questions.
Go ahead.
First one, for many of these initiatives, and this is wonderful work, by the way. Thank you so much for that. And we provide a lot of support across the Lahui. Is joining the registry a requirement for applying for any of these programs?
Mahalo. Yes, it would be, just like we have facilitated with AHO.
Yes.
I think all of our programs should leverage HRP as part of the participation process.
Okay, good. That's the right answer. Secondly, now, with regard to the Moku economy, the regenerative tourism, where does this particular definition lie in the visitor continuum? Well, let me give you a sense of what I mean. There was a time when there was a tourism strategic plan at one time, and it had 9 strands, everything to do with the visitor experience, from access points through natural resources, through marketing, through public safety and everything. Yep. And one strand was culture.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was we took that strand and when I say we, that was when we were in the legislature. We took the cultural strand and we made it horizontal instead of vertical. So it went through every part of the visitor experience. Mm. And then we took an informal poll of what that meant. And Hawaiian culture was woefully deficient in a few of these strands. And so when you say regenerative tourism, where does that lie in the visitor continuum? Does that lie in the hotel lobbies? Does that lie in the programming of what do you mean?
Yeah, mahalo for asking that question, Trustee. One of the foundational levels of importance for me in the work that I'm doing here at OHA is really beginning to recognize that our rural communities are left out way too often. And I'm looking at how and ways that we can, I think we even talked about it last week for the remote work, right? In the discussions we had about rural communities and the challenges that our rural communities have, number one. I'm really looking at how we can interweave our efforts back into rural communities. Also in a way that is, like I said, respectful of the Vahikupuna and making sure that the stories that are being told and the funds that are being brought in by such a ginormous industry within our state, undeniably. I think it's a fifth. Is it a fifth? Number one. But does it represent? Well, we can talk offline about that. Our people are way too often left out or left on the bottom. And yep. And I'm really interested in ways that we can bring people back to rural communities where we can tell our stories, where we can celebrate our practitioners, and that the funds can go back into their pockets rather than going through, in many cases, as our musicians know, very low pay or volunteer pay type of give backs to this industry of tourism. So I'm looking at taking people out to our rural communities and learning more about them.
One last thought. Okay. When it, some of the discussions when it comes to the tourism industry should also reside in a dialogue with the Department of Transportation to see their emphasis on culture, whether it be signage in airports or whatever, because that's a part of the experience. Right?
Yeah.
So it may not seem large, but it should be the first thing people see when they get off the plane.
Yeah.
The Hawaiian language. Okay.
I agree. Mahalo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next, anyone else with a question? Go ahead, Trustee Akalka.
Hello. To add to what Trustee Galatario was mentioning, I think that's really important in terms of our language and culture. I remember some years ago at the city and county here when that was passed that we have our road signage to include the Okina and Kahako. I personally appreciate it whenever I see it because it really it determines the proper pronunciation of words as they should be and the meaning and the history of it. But also with that, when we were going to tour Lahaina last year, I saw our High Hawaii Hawaiian flags posted up in different places, and I was asking myself, these lands, are these private lands? Are these crown and government lands of our Hawaiian kingdom? And it made me think too, I think it would be good for us to have proper signage to indicate where we have crown and government lands
Mm.
and to have QR codes and certain information so people know about the history of these lands, and then partner with entities like Google and Apple for the mappings to have the geotagging as well.
Mhm. That's such an eloquent way to describe what I'm trying to accomplish with this first phase, the pilot phase of the Heritage Trail Maps. So it's not just about partnering with Kupuna, but it's about telling the stories through those
Yes.
types of things like the QR codes, some kind of technology that helps to facilitate the story. That would all be part of that budget request.
Mahalo. So going back to when you were sharing about the AHO, the access to home ownership, I know when we were discussing the preparations for the neighborhood board meetings here on Oahu, we were talking about QR codes, maybe handouts and so forth. I'm finding that people appreciate the handouts that those informational mail that we're providing to them, and then we highlight that as we're sharing.
Okay.
If we could have some kind of a pamphlet or printed flyer that we can provide to our communities that we're entering.
Absolutely. I actually think we have one currently. I just need to double check that the QR code is
For the
going to the
packet
same.
that is provided to each
And
representative.
we worked with comms to create that.
Yeah.
And so we do have something. I just want to double check it and make sure that it's still linked to the right page
Mhm.
when they scan it, because we have made some updates since the launch of that program.
Mahalo. And in that Waianae Coast neighborhood board meeting that Kehao and I were speaking at, one of the uncles there, he had shared that what was shared in an OHA meeting prior, trustee, is people use the term affordable, but maybe we should look at using the term attainable,
Attainable.
because what is affordable for some is truly not affordable for most.
Yeah, correct. And I can share with you, and I know we're going to share more information about this next week as well, but the average home purchase right now, with those that are in closing, is about $570,000. And so I was surprised by that number. It's also spread out between Molokai, Oahu, Big Island, and Maui and Oahu. So the spread of homes pricing is different, right, with each island.
Yeah, I think many of us, what we experience is because of the pay inequities and so forth, and just all these factors, many of us can only afford a place that is 1 to 200, maybe $300,000
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
on top of the other costs of living here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Another thing too that I would be interested in your Paya working with the communications team is the ohanas that are recipients of AHO,
Mm-hmm.
if they feel comfortable, that be part of the conversation with them to share their story with us, through us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We've been in talk with Bill on that. And so we are looking how we can partner with trustees, going to the island and standing with the homeowners and in front of their
Wonderful.
homes. Yeah. So it's like a AHO roadshow. And so far, I think we have almost all the islands that we can do the roadshow. We have Oahu, Maui, Molokai, um, Big Island. So we just need one on Kauai and we're good to go.
Thank you. I think where it is appropriate to, maybe we can talk with DHHL to have certain information that we provide made available in their spaces, and then vice versa as well. What they have might be good for us to have on hand as well. In the conversations I was having after with Rice Ma is in terms of Nalama Kukui and remote spaces. I know that we're doing that with Hawaii Island and so forth with the rural communities to be able to make ourselves available to them. And one of the uncles who's a board member of the Nana Kuli Ma'ili Neighborhood Board, he had asked if we / DHHL are having a satellite space on the west side of this island. And I had mentioned that the ways in which we're addressing that on Hawaii Island, but that's something that I could bring back here to share. That is an inquiry that has happened throughout within our community. And on top of that, with our Nalama Kukui space here, you mentioned makeke. I also was talking with Royce yesterday about how we used to have our holiday Christmas makeke here on property and how popular,
Yeah, I
how very
heard.
popular
Yeah.
it has been through the years. And for us to revisit that, as well as possibly, I'm hoping to have it where we have makeke to complement the Native Hawaiian, the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame monthly music that is
Yeah.
happening, to have that makeke space available at no charge to our
Mhm.
Native Hawaiian businesses, the vendors.
Mhm.
And I think it's an opportunity if we have mahi'ai loan recipients, mahi'ai,
Yeah.
that we're helping to be able to create space for them to provide their product, sell their product.
Mhm.
I know for myself, when I go to makekes or markets, I'm looking for nice, fresh Native Hawaiian produce.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a, a big draw, but it also gives space for us to be able to have booths of our own regarding Native Hawaiian registry,
Mhm.
regarding pamphlets sharing about AHO, all the things we're doing, grants, sponsorships, and so forth, loans, for us to be able to share on that, and hiring as well. Um, hmm. And then I wanted to ask, have we talked with any nonprofits that are doing some of the work that we're proposing to do, where we could partner with them or complement what they're doing and not
Yes.
totally
And I think it's a hybrid, to be honest. I think that we could facilitate something that's well branded for OHA.
great.
Um,
Where it's appropriate, the ones that come to my mind are the Hawaii Agriculture Foundation.
uh-huh.
That their sister entity is the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, where they feature
Yep.
cooks, chefs, farmers, me'ai, that is Aina based.
Absolutely.
Um, but of course, where appropriate.
You know, I mean, if I could dream with you right now because you're in my alley, but I've imagined a taste of our mahiai on at Kakako Makai,
Uh-huh.
at the Old Fisherman's Wharf location. I can see us really activating that space. I think it's really important that we incubate and prepare our small business owners to be successful once we get there. In my experience, 10 years is street grinds and working with over 500 small businesses, I've seen so much turnover, and we were actually in the process of creating a program that was an incubator program. And there's lots of them now. I think the
Yeah.
differential is being able to provide, and that's why you see this as the heavier weighted portion of my proposal. With 150,000, we can teach them all we want, but if we're not bringing them the opportunity with
Right.
business and through a successful makekes, then they're off on their own struggling again.
Because
So
when I think of those nonprofits, these organizations, their mission is to have the keiki, the ohanas, the community to know where their food comes from,
mhm,
and to incorporate those teachings within the schooling system, STEM, STEAM, and then also in the keiki learning, the ohana learn as well, and tend to make better choices in the foods that they purchase or they consume, and
mhm,
the industry that is supported, and know that there are jobs beyond being being an astronaut, a teacher, a politician, whatever. Like, there are good jobs in the industry of agriculture, but to know
absolutely.
that those options are available to them
Yeah.
as well.
And it's reconnecting our people back to the land that they come from. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. Regarding the moku economy,
Mhm.
I appreciate you mentioning that, being a child of somebody that has been doing that for decades on end,
Mhm.
and the indigenous Ike. Um, as a Kiki in that household, I will share that it is painful when I think of the years where, whether it's a hotel, a resort, or whatever tourism entity, they hire historians and those with this Ike. However, they're constantly questioned and made to feel not great about what they do because they have to legitimize the value that they're bringing. I
Mhm.
think we're in a day and age where it is more valued than what it
Absolutely.
used to be, but
Mhm.
to be able to cultivate a team that has that and feel that this is a good and sustainable industry to be in. The work that my father has done, it was him for many decades, now fast forwarding in time, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, a group of about what was 5, now 4. And I think that there is value in that. So I'm interested in seeing how you're going to further procure this
Mahalo.
this this manao. And then another thing too regarding, I think you're talking about scholarships
Yes.
for a keiki that are interested in ag and being able to find sources of where they can have a job placement after. Have we looked at other groups or entities that are doing that as well and reaching out to them to provide space
Yeah.
for them to host
Yeah.
their scholarship issuings?
So it would be for adult learners specifically, and I would be looking at working with the community colleges. So one is existing already, which is the Culinary Institute of America, and providing scholarships specifically to those in the restaurant and food industry. It's run by Roy Yamaguchi, held in the Culinary Institute of the Pacific with KCC. The other program I'm actually looking to co-create with Leeward Community College, which is a mahiai specific from ground to product program, focused primarily on our canoe crops. And so it would be about our mai'a, kalo, ulu, wala. And so not only how do you grow it, but how do you increase its value by creating value-added products with it. And so with that, and the reason why I think it's important to mention that is that the cost to facilitate that is almost minimal, and then our scholarships is where the funds would come in.
Have we looked at what that would look like beyond just the adults, but for the college age students?
I'd love to, yeah. I think we could open it up. I mean, maybe it could be a scenario where we roll this out first to adult learners, establish the program, and then kind of do junior programming from there.
Because I think of like what Pau
Oh,
Box is
college.
doing.
Oh,
They're
yeah, yeah.
providing scholarships for Kiki that are entering a school, and that'll be, I want to say, annually, and that's in the tech industry, and you have to be Native Hawaiian. So
Yeah.
I think that looking at other entities that are doing that and seeing where there might be spaces for us to
Yeah.
do something similar or different.
I just want to
Definitely.
jump in for a second. I can definitely see the trajectory in scaling this towards younger learners, but we also want to be very careful and intentional when we do programming with minors that are 18 years and under. And also the mentorship and placement, there's a lot of more liability that happens with that. So we're being very careful and intentional on how we put the programs together for FY26 and 27.
Mahalo.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, so now let me make an announcement in the interest of time because several trustees must leave before 2:30. Therefore,
Sure.
we're going to ask our board to please continue questions to an email and send it to the different department heads. And then we're going to finish up with our last two presenters. So it looks like you got 15 minutes each to do your presentation, and then we're going to conclude after the last presenter.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you guys so much. Absolutely, go for it.
Perfect. We can go to the slide 47, please. So I'm presenting on behalf of our director who is on leave. That is Koike Kamakea Ohelo and his team, Kalai Castro and Parker Spencer. The budget presentation will begin on page 111. Next slide, please. So first we have our Kaulike Native Hawaiian Specialty Court Pilot Program. This initiative is restorative justice, legal advocacy, and Indigenous informed support services. It fosters conditions where Native Hawaiians are not only diverted from incarceration, but guided toward healing and accountability and long-term well-being. The estimated potential reach for beneficiaries, direct beneficiaries, 150 Native Hawaiian individuals, and that ripple effects could touch anywhere between 600 to 1,000 community members. Again, we've done a net present value on the initial investment of this program, meaning if we invest up to the 600,000 that we're asking for this budget for this FY26-27 fiscal year, it would have an annual benefit up to 300,000 annually, discounted rate at 4% over 10 years, which is when our strategic plan sunset. So that looks like 1.83 million of investment. I'm not Ryan Lee, I'm not the director of endowment, but I'm pretty sure that's a good return for OHA. The 600,000 is 3 times what you would get in the 10 years. To put that in perspective, if you look at our FY26 budget for S&I, that would be the budget line item for beneficiary grants and then some. Next slide, please. So what this looks like in practice with the budget, we have about 185,000 for both fiscal years for programs, and then contracts 415,000. And then S&I personnel would oversee the project management of this. The breakdown is there for you. What I do want to call out specifically is in the programs, we've allotted 40,000 for court staff support, 25,000 for data framework and evaluation, 15,000 for policy. There may be an opportunity that we want to adjust to 40,000 for the court personnel. The reason being is a feasibility study that you folks will be presented later by the Native Hawaiian Legal Corp has found that there may not be funds needed to support the court staff because they're already going to be in alignment with the judge. One of the 4 main components needed for a specialty court is community engagement and interaction. So we may want to think about putting that 40,000 towards that effort instead. Next slide, please. All right. And so the next program here for health is our Pu'uhonua Restorative Justice. So where the Kaulike Specialty Court provides judicial diversion through culturally adapted legal processes, Pu'uhonua is creating the physical and cultural infrastructure to receive and restore those navigating these systems. So together they model a continuum of care. Net present value of this initial investment over 2 years, so that would be 425,000 that we would invest in the Pu'uhonua Restorative Justice Program. It would have an annual benefit of 250,000 at 4% rate over 10 years. That yields OHA 1.6 million. So these are systemic changes that are happening and programs that we're putting together. Next slide, please. Here's what it looks like in practice. We have 100,000 in programs for both fiscal years, and then contracts looking at 325,000. This would require someone of trust and intimate understanding of Pu'uhonua and Aina-based work with healing practices and cultural practitioners. And then again, our S&I personnel, the director and the SCs would oversee convening of stakeholders and also co-designing and implementing the plan. Next slide, please. Continuing on our health programs, we have our Native Hawaiian healthcare practitioners. This initiative addresses, again, systemic healthcare disparities, cultivating a robust pipeline of professionals equipped not only with clinical excellence, but with our cultural grounding needed to do this from within. The potential impact of how many Native Hawaiian beneficiaries we may impact with this program is anywhere between 15,000. So if we're looking at rural communities, so they say Native Hawaiians in rural communities are anywhere between 93,000 to 124,000, and with increased access to care, say 10% are going, that's 93,000 to 400 for improved healthcare outcomes. So over 3 to 5 years for a long term, we're looking at 1,600 to 20,000. So it does have a multiplier effect within this program. Next slide, please. So again, what this looks like in practice in the budget, we have 40,000 going towards programs. I want to call out and highlight the professional support stipends. Again, this is a barrier that we're seeing within this healthcare professional pathway where living expenses or even tuition or fees becomes a barrier for them to continue. So that's where we're calling out the stipends or support. At this time, we haven't figured out if it's going to go towards tuition or fees or living expenses. It would really depend on the type of professionals we're supporting. And there's also tax implications too when we're thinking about stipends. Again, S&I personnel would oversee key convenings and co-design of the plan. Next slide, please. So I know Trustee Akaka had asked about this in our last time budget. Our Kealapono Sex Trafficking Curriculum Development. This program establishes a research and curriculum development framework. It's designed to eliminate and dismantle the conditions that allow this harm to persist. This is a direct response to the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls report, part 1, which was the recommendations to have a curriculum developed. OHA was also part of that task force. And so the estimated reach or the percent of beneficiaries that could be impacted by this program looks like this. We have a potential to reach both direct and indirect. So direct beneficiaries with this curriculum, we are looking at Native Hawaiian women and girls, maybe anywhere between 500 to 1,500. We're looking at law enforcement officers that are trained, between 300 and 500 statewide, community leaders and responders, between 250 and 400. That includes counselors and social workers, potential healthcare education sector professionals, 250 to 500, and academic and policy stakeholders, 100 to 200. So direct reach between years 1, maybe 3, we're looking at 1,400 to 3,000 individuals. Indirect beneficiaries, ripple effect, we're looking at Ohana, broader Native Hawaiian community, and other youth that may be directly protected through this. Next slide, please. So what this breaks down into the budget, again, 115,000 over in contracts, and then budget allocation for community engagement events, and our S&I personnel would oversee, again, the project management of this, convening stakeholders regularly, and co-design of the program as well. And next slide, which is our questions. So happy to take any questions you folks have on the court or healthcare professionals.
Yes, thank you so much. It will be emailed. We'd like to move on to our last presenter.
Sure. It'll be myself, and I'm
Oh.
also going to ask our strategic consultant, Lindsay Kukwana Pakele, to join me. So next slide, please. The first program that we have is our Hawaiian Community Developer Fellowship. This is an investment in a movement, and it's our critical step in our long-term vision towards housing sovereignty. The budget request ensures that the future housing leaders are supported, resourced, ready, and to navigate the housing system. Next slide. So contracts for FY26, we have 50,000, and program is 50,000. And then for FY27, 125,000 that we're thinking of how we would iterate on the program. Total budget asked for both by fiscal years is 225,000. Next slide, please.
Aloha. Okay, so the next program we have is called the Malama Honua Home Improvement / Renovation Program. This was inspired by Trustee Alapa as a reflected priority, and pretty much we do want to focus on health and safety repairs and also think about our beneficiaries who might not have access to credit, traditional loans, and so that would be our targeted kind of beneficiaries in that way. And then so we also do want to have 2 different components, a deferred loan component and a grant component for very low income kupuna. And this would be facilitated through an NCDFI, CDFI, as they already have connections to our community and have kind of been doing the work. And then just sort of the overall purpose is we know housing supply is very limited, very expensive. So helping our current Native Hawaiian homeowners with financial and credit limitations address those health and safety issues is a means of ensuring they're able to remain in their homes and also preserve an important asset for future generations. And then some of the objectives we identify is to identify a list of commonly needed health and safety related repairs, collaborate with DHHL to identify potential DHHL beneficiaries who could utilize the program because they don't qualify for existing DHHL programs, develop a list of qualified partners and vendors to perform the renovation services, and then also partner with the NCDFI, CDFI to implement the program. And then also an important part of our work is collecting data. So current data regarding our beneficiaries who utilize and benefit from the program to help guide our future housing initiatives. And then just in terms of deliverables, once we kind of identify the program amounts and then the AMI, things like that, we'll be looking at with this program, what are the number of Native Hawaiian homeowners receiving either deferred loan for the home repairs or a grant program who are then able to have them completed by a qualified partner and vendor. And then the success measures would be looking like through kind of data to see the report regarding improved safety and livability, improved homeowner satisfaction, improved quality of life, reduce health risks and increase property values. And then also looking at the data regarding once they do receive the funding and make the repairs, what are the numbers of Native Hawaiian homeowners who remain in their homes after receiving the repairs? And then in turn, does that decrease the number of Native Hawaiians selling their homes and leaving Hawaii, addressing that kind of the out-of-state movement. And then also important data capture in terms of a housing needs assessment about program participants and then program impact reports. And then that would be through ongoing surveys and then participant feedback about the program aspects. And sorry, next slide, please. And then so for this program, we've budgeted a total of $1 million over fiscal year 26 and 27. And so a lot of that would be to execute the contract with a native CDFI to facilitate application processing, home inspections, loan, grant disbursement and tracking, contractor management, and data collection. So a lot of it would go towards that. And then also in terms of our internal personnel, the director of housing, as well as a strategy consultant would be helping with project leadership and then day-to-day project management, be the liaison with the native CDFI, and then also manage reporting, timelines, deliverables, and then also the communications as well. And so those are budgeted across the two fiscal years.
That sounds amazing. I'm so excited to hear that. As you may or may not know, that I've already working on a program on my own on Lahaina Molokai, my hometown, and I must say it has literally been a profound experience, especially for kupuna who have no one, let alone no money, zero. And so we were able to go in there and repair the necessities of their home, especially for those who can't even get into their house, they have to be carried in. So we were able to add a ramp, to have cardboards for your windows. That's what they had. So we were able to replace that with real windows, and it made a huge difference. I just wish you had more money because many of the homes are in dire need of repair, and especially the roofs. The roofs is what causes obviously the weather in Ho'olehua, especially because it's very moist up there. So guess what grows? Mold. And I'm a perfect example of what has gone on in my own place where I live. I had suffered terrible side effects from mold inhalation and so forth. Still have it till today. But I don't want to see any of our beneficiaries go through that. So thank you so much for incorporating that into your budget, because it's going to make a huge, profound difference. And these are all about tangible results, and people are going to see it to believe it. They're going to actually do that. So thank you so much for your presentation. I think we're kind of doing good now. There's anybody, I guess we could throw in a question. Anybody have a question right now? Or you okay?
I just want to thank you folks for what you
Yes.
shared today. I'm excited to see what's to come. I also want to say mahalo regarding the trafficking, what is in there, and the incarceration, and also recalling a testimony that was shared with us in terms of rehabilitating the person that is incarcerated, but also the ohana, and seeing how we can be a positive difference there, and how we can partner regarding the trafficking, and work with the I would say the AG's office, as they're, unless she's not there anymore, Kalea, the AG's office, who has had lived experience in trafficking and trying to help in mitigating and rescuing. Jeez, I have some other manao, but I'll just
All right. So at this time, go ahead, Brickwood.
Final thing, I know it's a rolling, you guys are going to be starting the programs in 26, yeah? A lot of them in 26. This is a really good opportunity to work with comms. And everyone that you knock down at the time, let's do something,
Vote it.
a big campaign
Yes.
for each one that you knock down. Okay?
Mhm.
All right.
Love that.
Thank you.
Anything else, trustees, before we go to recess? All right, I think we're all good. At this time, trustees, everyone, we are going to recess to tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the last of our presenters. And we will do with item D. Is it E? E. Yeah, we're going to go into agenda E. Thank you so much, everyone.